And then Fred, your Steelers. You and I were the only two to pick the Steelers of the six of us who do our pool. That will obviously be the first game that we'll review. As always, we pick the best games to review, and we're going to do 2 this week and 2 Monday Night Football previews. So, yeah, let's start with the Steelers and the Chargers. Fred, I want you to kick us off. As I said, your team are 3-0, put in a very good performance, very openly. What did you make of the victory? And tell us about your key takeaways.
Did someone say undefeated? Because that's what we are right now, undefeated, with a capital U. Well, with capital F, it being Fields. We had maybe not the capital F people were thinking of when I said that. We are starting to click on the offense. We are really, really starting to click. We're really starting to see something. I mean, in the first quarter, how that offense was running, I was very much of the, here we go again. Here we go again with an offense that is not quite clicking, is looking a bit skittish, frightened, a run game that wasn't quite working against the team, probably the best team that we've come up against so far. This Chargers team is a really well-run organization, and a well-run team under new coach Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh. And the defense was exceptional, absolutely exceptional. It has been every game. And that isn't going to change throughout the whole season, I don't think, unless, injuries pending. Hopefully the injury to Alex Highsmith isn't going to be too bad. But, I mean, even the commentator, I think it was Tony Romo on the night, said, Nick Herbig really needs to step up in these moments. Now Highsmith's there, TJ Watt's going to be doubled. He's going to be on the edge there against Rashawn Slater. It's one of the best left tackles in the league. Let's see what he can do. And in that next play, there was a strip sack. Admittedly, the Chargers did recover it, but he made impact plays straight away. And Herbig has been really developing really well in the Steelers system as well. At this point in time, the biggest question now is we can't, can you drop Fields? Russell Wilson is going to be fit at some point. Can you drop Justin Fields? At the moment, no, I don't think you can. He's doing everything really well. He's throwing the ball into tight spaces. I mean, that touchdown to Austin to win us the game effectively was a really, really beautifully thrown ball in sort of that triple triangle that Austin was in the middle. A real hard throw to make, and he can make them throws. And at the end of the game, the offense was really rocking. I mean, Cordell Patterson and Najee Harris seem to be running all over at the end of the game, which is a sort of dominant run game we want to see from the start. Jalen Warren's really been a non-factor. He came into the season looking a little, injury was over his head. And I think he probably still is. I think they've maybe rushed him back a little bit. Now they can see Patterson can run the ball a little bit as well, which he has done historically. Warren can be eased in a little bit more, I think, now rather than rushed back. But yeah, I mean, when your total offensive yards are 346 to 168, yes, Justin Herbert did get injured for the Chargers. That's a really positive sign for the Pittsburgh Steelers. A really, really positive sign. So yeah, I'm definitely riding this wave. I know it'll end, long may it continue for the moment.
So many points you've hit on there that I've thought of watching this game. I thought it was interesting to develop. But Adam, talk about Justin Fields. Within 3 weeks, he has developed as a passer. I saw a stat that he's averaging 3.2 yards per rush attempt this season. That number was never lower than 5.3 during his first 3 seasons in the league. I think that shows already that, Mike Tomlin's got a plan. I know we saw them pass the ball a lot more than we would expect in weeks gone by. Is that just part of this evolution of the Steelers offense?
No, it just goes to show that the Bears O-line is trash and continues to be trash now as well. That's the problem with that. The poor guy had to run around in circles in order to be able to do anything. That's the issue. Look, I mean, the Steelers are very good. They always have been very good, haven't they? They're a very good outfit. They do everything right. And that's why they're probably starting to get this this type of performance from Fields all the time. It's really nice to see them pass the ball. That's the one thing, and they actually had more pass attempts than rush attempts, and that's great. But not only was it that, a lot of the time with the Steelers, when they do pass the ball, it does feel like it's only going to one guy a lot of the time. This was different this game. There was loads of people that had targets. Austin had 5, Pickens 7, Freiermuth 5. Both Patterson and Najee had 5 targets as well. This is where you're going to get a more balanced offense. I mean, you couldn't really get much more balance than 31 run, 32 pass. So that's where it's going to work. And Fields has always been someone who's had the potential to do it. He just was in an absolute dumpster fire that was Chicago. So it's nice to see him be given an opportunity behind an O-line that, although it has had injuries, is still holding up relatively well. And not only that, they went up against a really good defense with the LA Chargers and Jim Harbaugh. I mean, that even after this week, there's in the top 10 when it comes to the amount of rushing and passing yards that they've given up. So, I mean, they're still really stingy when it comes to the yards that they're giving up. So they are a tough defense to beat. And I think like I say, I think the fact that it's a bit more of a balanced offense now, I think you're going to see that the Steelers might actually be able to sort of scare a few more teams in different ways, and they won't have to rely solely on their amazing defense.
Fred, I wanted to ask you about Pat Fryermuth, because you've been quite big. Well, obviously he's on your team, but you've always been a big advocate for him. I think we saw, like Adam said, 5 targets, 4 catches, 33 yards. His target share has been going up through 3 games. Route participation was at a season high, 89% apparently in week 3. Do you think he's going to become a key factor in this team as the offense develops? Because obviously, usually, weirdly, the tight end is a security blanket for bad quarterbacks or rookie quarterbacks. But if anything, he seems to be thriving more now that the quarterback play is developing.
Yeah, I think I always thought he's underrated around the league, and he does really, really well in the dirty business of blocking and stuff like that, and
He's
also in the receiving as well.
Yeah.
He's a proper tight end. He's not elite in anything. I don't think he's not got the hands of Kelsey or the blocking of Kittle, but he can do everything really well. I think he's a really well balanced player. I think any new quarterback on a team is going to want their security blanket, even if it's a rookie or a bad quarterback. I think a new quarterback on any team is going to want that, and Frymouth, it can provide that. You got to remember, Arthur Smith's also developing as well in this role. As much as it's new quarterback play, it's a new offensive coordinator as well. Yes, he can instill his ideas, but he's also got to see what players he's got to work with. And I think Adam alluded to how balanced our offense was. It had to be. This defense is really good against the run, really good. So we had to develop that, and we had to change up that factor. And it's nice to see that we can change it up and it can work. I'd like us to make. We've not become splashy yet, and we might not be at all this year. But I'd like to just see a few more splash plays happening, and not ones where we throw over the top and you get looking for the PI. Which we've done so much historically in the last 3 seasons. I mean, actual big chunk plays, real chunk plays where you're working the ball down the field and getting that quick score. And I think that can happen. That can certainly happen. And Frymouth is going to be a key element to that. So yeah, we've still not seen much of Van Jefferson yet. I think that'll be interesting to see his develop throughout the year. It's nice to see Cameron Austin be utilised in that sort of way. George Pickens, it's still got to show a bit more for me. He still can make exceptional catches. I just think he needs to get more consistent at that and needs to work on his routes. So yeah, we could hopefully it's onwards and upwards. And this defense is, I mean, it's in the top 5 bracket, top 3 bracket, I think, for this year so far. The pressure we can bring, and even when we lose players like Highsmith, we can bring so much pressure. I think the linebackers have played really well as well, and people like Peyton Wilson, the corners seem to be doing the business as well. Yeah, I'm and low on penalties as well. I think we only had 3 penalties in the game, which has been a concern of mine about the Steelers, and so yeah, positive signs.
You read my mind about top 5 defense because I was going to move on to the Chargers and Adam. But one person I just want to highlight for the Steelers who I was impressed with was Cordero Patterson. Even him stepping up, one of those sort of Swiss Army knife guys, can just do a bit of everything. And, I think you saw on your offense, even with Warren getting hurt, that, he's able to make plays in the run game and receiving as well. So, yeah, some interesting development pieces. But Adam, in terms of development for the Chargers, this does feel like a development year. We spoke about that, prior to the season. For me, well, obviously everyone knows how big of a Justin Herbert fan I am. However, for them as a team in general, I think it's just shown the cracks instantly losing this game because you've gone from beating 2 mediocre teams, the Raiders and the Panthers. And no disrespect to the Steelers, no one expected this offensive performance. They are a team built on defense, but they couldn't even go toe to toe with Pittsburgh. Just in terms of, it's early in the year, but how do you evaluate their season now? Just in terms of they're 2-1, but they're not going to be a playoff team. How does Jim Harbaugh sort of rally around them now to pick them up? Especially, and I say not a playoff team because I think a quarterback with an ankle sprain like that, that's probably going to linger as well. Justin Herbert's injury.
Yeah, I think you've got to kind of give them a little bit of leeway, given the fact that they've just gone up against probably one of the best defenses in the league.
I'm being harsh. I like being harsh.
Yeah, I mean, you would expect that to happen. And I actually think the Chargers, as Freddie was saying, the Chargers defense has shown that they are a pretty good defense as well. And I think Jesse Mintz has really sort of like got them going from day one. So that's really good to see. Yeah, I think they were always a team that wasn't, you can't expect it to suddenly turn around when you get a brand new head coach and defensive coordinator and an OC and everything changes. You kind of have to give them a little bit of time. As you said about Herbert and the injury, obviously that is going to be a concern if he's not going to be able to play. That's you do sort of like, you will drop a bit. It's not their main game plan. Their main game plan is to run the ball. And they were going up against a Pittsburgh defense who's currently tied second when it comes to giving up rushing yards even. So, it's very difficult to be able to do that, because when that's your main game plan and you go up against a defense that just stops that, then that's a problem. I just feel like, you have seen little glimpses of like Quinton Johnson and Lad McConkey looking, solid and looking like okay wide receivers that can be used in the passing game. There's just not a lot of it. And because there's not a lot of it, it's always going to mean that you're relying on the run. So it's one of them things where it's difficult. But I think overall, they're probably, like you say, they're a team that are kind of rebuilding a little bit. They've rebuilt through the coaching, and they're going to bring in, bring these guys in and just generally hope to do much better than what they did last year. Last year, was it 5-12 or something like that last year? So I think, if you can sort of turn that into like a 7 or 8 win team, then you're going the right way and you're becoming a much harder team to beat. And I think that's probably what Chargers fans need to be hoping for this season.
Fred, before we move on, you could both answer this. Was it silly to start Justin Herbert, considering they're playing the Chiefs? You saw what the Packers did with Jordan Love and not playing him.
I think it's actually, that's exactly what was running through my mind the whole time Adam was speaking then, was the question is, I know they're a run-first offense, but they knew in this game. But they knew this game was made. They're a run-first offense, but they know this game would need the element of throwing because defense is so good at the rush defense. Yeah. I think if it was any other defense, they may have sat him. But because it was against the Steelers, they were like, we can run the ball, but we're not going to run it as successfully as we can against other defenses. We're going to need Herbert's arm to get to even keep us in this game. So I think any other team, they probably sit Herbert, and they would have gone with Heineke if they could have just ran the ball down our throats all day successfully. Herbert gets sat, and I know that's their game plan anyway, but they knew that wasn't going to be. They were maybe going to have to be more of a balanced offense, which is like what we were in the end. Mm-hmm. So for me, they're going to win games. I think they're going to win. I think they look like a playoff team, to be honest. It's very much a worry on Herbert and Bosa and Joe Alt's injury. What a horrible piece of luck to have a top edge rusher, one of the top quarterbacks, and looking like could be a rookie of the year candidate. Sorry, not rookie of the year, but like one of the standout rookies of this season especially at the right tackle position. He may be one of the best right tackles in the league potentially by the end of it, because Joel's been fantastic since he's come in, and everyone, the college people will know that was going to be the case anyway. Certainly someone who has dips his toe in college every now and then, and I'd seen the amount of media about Joe Alt before the draft. I knew he was probably going to be a success in the NFL as well. So yeah, and it's good. It's great to see players like Quinton Johnston do well. He looks legit. I mean, he's got 133 yards and 3 touchdowns already this year. That's better than he got 2 touchdowns the whole season last season. So he's coming on leaps and bounds. This team's going to be okay. They're going to be. There's worry about this injuries, but this team's going to be okay. I think this team can be a playoff team.
I think just before we move on, just to say with them, I know before the season I said playoff team, but the injuries you said in development, I think like Adam said, 7 or 8 wins. There's building blocks in place. Then you have another good draft. You know you've got a franchise quarterback. You've got a blue chip, offensive tackle. There are pieces there, but I think the holes are pretty big as well. But we'll see how they get on.